There's suggestions that our credit scores might be based on our internet history in the near future. The same way banks use data like income to judge credit eligibility now is how websites could use internet search history in the future. Researchers studying the relationship between finance and tech found that data from your browsing, search and purchase history could be used to decide your credit in the future. If you want to prevent this from happening to you, use the best VPN so you can keep your search history separate from your personal data. I highly recommend using Virtual Shield. It's built from the ground up for privacy. That's why there's a strict no logs policy. Go to hidewithbear.com to get 50% off today, or click the link in the video description. You've got nothing to lose. Victoria's far left-leaning state government has introduced They Day to encourage the use of gender-neutral pronouns. And we're not talking about a token once-a-year affair. The first Wednesday of every month is now They Day. The Department of Health and Human Services is asking its 10,000 employees to avoid using gendered language and to instead use gender-neutral pronouns like they and them. A 9-minute video has been published on YouTube by the department's Pride Network, encouraging the use of gender-neutral pronouns and suggesting that it's possible for us to unlearn our bad behaviour. Naturally, the video's like-dislike ratio and comments are disabled because the last thing a government department needs is feedback. I've put together some of my favourite bits.
A person is a person, and maybe they are defined by those classic gender roles, but it's not necessarily who they are.
A pronoun isn't meant to define who you are. They simply take the place of something or someone when that thing or person has been mentioned earlier. Imagine talking to a friend and saying, I picked up my new couch today. It's really comfortable and I got it for a great price. Without using the pronoun it, that statement would be awkward as fuck. I picked up my new couch today. My new couch is really comfortable and I got my new couch for a great price.
You are also able to broaden the gender pronoun spectrum as well, so you're not restricting it to anything in specific. So normally you would say, oh, well, with boys and girls, or
would you take that f***ing bracelet off?
He and her, that kind of thing. You're actually saying they, which will expand that out to include any and all people under the gender spectrum.
A lot of times people make assumptions about how someone feels or how someone experiences their gender based on how they express it. So based on what clothes they wear or how their hair is.
I don't make any assumptions about how people feel or experience their gender, only what gender they are. And that's hardly ever based on someone's haircut or what clothes they're wearing. I assume you're a female because of the pitch of your voice, the bone structure of your face, the type of body language and hand mannerisms you're using in conjunction with your speech, and the fact that I can't see a single hair on your face or your arms, and neither look like they've ever had a razor anywhere near them. Cut your hair as short as you want, I'll still think you're a chick. Sorry.
But really, everyone's gender identity is something that is very much personally theirs.
Look, if that's what you believe, that's fine. But the pronouns other people refer to you as are as much yours as it belongs to my new couch. Pronouns are hardly ever used to refer to someone in a direct conversation with that person. Think about it. If I was having a conversation directly with you, why would I ever use he or she to refer to you? I'd use you, which is technically a pronoun, but it's a gender-neutral pronoun. So this whole pronouns debate is about the words that other people use in conversations that you're not even participating in.
That child that's sitting on the bed wondering, and possibly at times suicidal and not coping with those thoughts, that's where it benefits, because it actually gives them an ability to be themselves and really gives them that time to look at themselves of what they want to be, who they're choosing to be, who they're choosing to identify, and what label they want to put out to society.
Well, that is interesting, because again and again we've been told that for trans people, gender identity is not a choice at all. But here you are telling us it is in fact a choice. Now, apparently almost half of young transgender people have attempted suicide. If that's true, that is staggering. So here's a novel idea. What if that child sitting on their bed drowning in their own thoughts chose not to be transgender at all? Less than 0.3% of Australia's general population attempt suicide each year. Why wouldn't someone choose those odds over the alternative? Why wouldn't we encourage them to choose those odds over the alternative?
Sometimes when you're thinking of a particular individual and you do have an association, perhaps through their gendered name, of what their pronoun might be, and when you use they, you call yourself back from making those assumptions, and I think that's very powerful. It's really good for our brains too, to reprogram some neural pathways.
Oh great, I love it when government departments start talking about reprogramming brains. Are you f***ing serious? Get f***ed.
A, you're not making assumptions about anyone's gender. B, you're making a lot more people comfortable with your language by not going he or she or just assuming based on looks, because you never know what someone's gender identity is going to be based on how they look.
I am a man. I look like a man. And I want you to know that I am a man by looking at me.
There's a lot of times when we'd use gender neutral pronouns in everyday language anyway. So, for example, if you were on a train and somebody dropped their hat, you'd be like, oh no, they dropped their hat.
Only if I didn't know what gender they were. Otherwise I'd say, oh no, she dropped her hat. Or oh no, he dropped his hat. That way I'm being as specific as I can be, helping to ensure that anyone hearing my comment has the most accurate understanding of what I'm trying to communicate.
If you have a friend who's gone to the doctor, you ask, what did they say?
Yes, because I don't make a habit of accompanying my friends to their doctor's appointments and wouldn't have a clue whether they are a man or a woman.
You have a student in a classroom, you might be talking about how they behave.
If I was talking about a specific student, I would talk about how he or she behaves. If I was talking about the class as a group, I would talk about how they behave.
In Australia with English, we can actually unlearn some of our poor behaviour and learn a new way of doing this.
Oh, we can unlearn some of our poor behaviour. That doesn't sound creepy and fucked up at all.
Also in France at the moment, they're doing great work to firm up their options for gender neutral pronouns, and they have a language authority.
They have a language authority, language authority, language authority, language authority.
That specifies the correct way that things should be worded, and that authority
Language authority.
is on board with redoing their language.
Language authority.
And putting in a new set. So I think that's really exciting.
How's the Newspeak committee?
Working overtime. Plus big wastage and adjectives. Plus big problem is timing the language to scientific advance.
Yes.
Why are people so stuck in one form of grammar when they're still willing to introduce new words to their vocabulary? Like, why is a change different when something new is... Why is it so much easier to accept a new language, a new word into our language rather than to change?
It's a beautiful thing, the destruction of words. You won't have seen the dictionary, 10th edition yet, Smith? It's that thick. The 11th edition will be that thick. It's an encouraging thought that by 2050 not a single person will be able to have a conversation like this.
As you might imagine, this video left some shit on a lot of people's livers. People wanted to know why the fuck these public employees were making creepy videos about reprogramming our brains instead of doing their fucking jobs. And a few days ago, Melbourne Talkback radio host Neil Mitchell did his best to get some answers. He sat down with Victoria's Commissioner for Gender and Sexuality, Rowena Allen.
In the studio with me, Victoria's Commissioner for Gender and Sexuality, Ro Allen. Good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
You didn't fund it either?
No, I didn't fund it.
No, probably didn't cost much. Either.
Probably not, but we didn't fund it.
So the question of who funded the production for the video was raised, and although it coincides with the department's memo read gender neutral language to its 10,000 employees and its introduction of They Day on the first Wednesday of every month, they didn't fund the video.
What do you think about a They Day?
Well, a lot of people identify as they and them more than you'd know, and a lot of great things have come out of Victoria. The actual idea of they and them isn't one of them. It's a global phenomenon for non-binary people, so it's not something that, even Department of Human Services invented. It's a way, as the video says, to include everyone, but it's certainly not about getting rid of he and she or mums and dads or any of that sort of stuff.
No, it's just about reprogramming those neural pathways and unlearning our poor behaviour, as it says in the video.
Language authority.
It's not about that at all.
Language authority.
Just for a day, though.
Well, it's just about making people aware that there are transgender, diverse and non-binary people in the world and in the workplace.
So no, Neil, not just for the day.
And that video was made by LGBTI public servants that are trying to make the place more inclusive.
Yeah, it was uploaded to this channel called Pride Network. In this 2016 interview, you said the development of Pride networks in all departments was one of your key projects.
I don't... one of the problems I have, I can't see they being singular.
No, look, people have asked me to change it. I think that's hilarious. This is a global thing. They think I have the power to change it because it is, people see it as non-grammatically correct, and sometimes they've got more problems with that than the actual idea of including people. But it's something that started in America and has gone right through Europe and, England, everywhere. It seems to be something that is evolving and growing. And every time I come in, Neil, the alphabet gets longer, LGBTI, just growing and growing. But it is a way to make sure that non-binary people are here and they're here to stay.
Well, come back a step. Non-binary, what's that?
Well, that's probably how I identify. So I don't fit in the stereotypical feminine or masculine identity, I get pronouned in all sorts of ways as I walk through my day.
What do you get?
I get she, I get they, them, I get he. He's useful when you want to go buy a car, can I tell you, or you're going to Bunnings. I can tell you.
That wasn't funny.
Not so useful when you're going to the doctors. And I went to the doctors the other day and he assumed that I was a man. And, it's radio. I've got short hair and comfortable shoes.
And you're dressed in a masculine suit.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So, and I went in and this doctor I hadn't seen before and he kept calling me sir. And most of the time I'll get through an interaction and it won't be a problem. But in a doctor's, when he wants to do a physical examination, it was a bit
for a fright.
It was a bit tricky. And then it's awkward. And, I'm the commissioner for this stuff. I'm meant to be evolved and have all the skills in this. I still find it difficult. And I showed him my gender on the screen and he said, I'm very sorry, sir, we'll get the receptionist to fix it.
Okay, that was pretty funny.
So, it is difficult for a non-binary person sometimes to travel through the world, and it's not making anybody give up he or she or wife or husband or anything like that. It's just saying, look, we're here, we exist, and be aware of that. And you can, if you want to, and as I said, no one was made compulsory to go to any of these things or to watch the video or anything else that the group made, but it's just an acknowledgement that, we're here and there's ways to make us feel included. We know that many trans people who transition in the workplace lose their jobs.
So explain to me, if you don't identify as male or female.
Well, I'm female by birth.
Female by birth, yeah.
And so I don't call myself a trans person, but, the world sees me in a different way,
And does that offend you?
Not at all. Not at all. It's how I'm very happy I'm Ro. People say, what's your pronoun? Well, commissioner at the moment is. But, I answer to anything. And I just say to people, just call me as you see me.
Well, I'd probably call you a woman and use she and her pronouns.
Is gender not based on biology?
Sex is based on biology. So that is. Gender, there are many transgender people who are allocated a sex at birth and transition to another gender. So, sex and gender get mixed up.
You just fucking mixed them up. You said there are many transgender people who are allocated a sex at birth and then transition to another gender. And no one's assigned or allocated a sex at birth. Your sex is observed at birth.
Gender is certainly how you feel within yourself and how you identify, not necessarily the sex that you're assigned at birth.
No one is assigned a sex at birth. Some people don't even have their sex announced at birth. That shit was done months ago with the help of an ultrasound.
It is complex, and as I said, most of the world are allocated female at birth and grow up and they're a woman, or allocated male at birth and they grow up and they're a man.
This woman is the commissioner for gender and sexuality.
The difficulties arisen in some countries where there has been a demand, almost a legal demand, that certain pronouns be used. Do you support that?
Legal demand?
Yeah. You must use these pronouns in this situation.
I don't know the particular situation you're talking about, Neil. There's no, in Victorian government, there's no demand.
But there's been various debates around the world, in Canada and France, there have been various debates about requiring the use of certain pronouns in various institutions.
She knows exactly what he's talking about. Check this out for a dodge.
No, I know that when I click on most drop boxes, I have to actually give a pronoun, and you cannot click on to the next thing if you don't use a pronoun. And you've got Ms., Mr. and Mrs. And for some people, like myself, it's an uncomfortable thing. I'm not a professor, I'm not a captain, I'm not the other things you can tick, but I can't progress on if I don't want to use a pronoun. And
it's uncomfortable for you?
Well, I don't really like it. There's a lot of women who don't like Ms. or being called ladies.
You just fucking said a minute ago, I answer to anything. Call me as you see me.
I've changed my language over time too. I used to say things like guys, which is a very American.
Which I do.
Well, I do.
Oh, fuck me, this is too painful. Again, that was a fucking minister. A minister. See ya.